The Great Witch Hunt of Bamberg, Mass Hysteria and Social Collapse. It started with a rumor, a whisper about a neighbor who cursed a cow or caused a storm. Then came the arrests, the torture, the confessions, the executions. Soon, no one was safe. Priests, mayors, children, entire families were burned alive. Not for what they did, but for what people feared they could do. This is not a story about witches. It is a story about what fear does to a society, and how quickly the mind turns neighbor into enemy. This is the Great Witch Hunt of Bamberg, a picturesque German town in the early 1600s, was a place of deep faith, rigid hierarchy, and constant struggle. The line between divine punishment and demonic interference grew dangerously thin. Years of war, plague, crop failure, and freezing winters left the people desperate. And where there's fear, there's a need for someone to blame. The Prince Bishop of Bamberg, Johann Georg II, Fuchs von Dornheim, was a devout Catholic and an authoritarian ruler. Under his command, a special building was constructed, the Hexenhaus, the Witch House, a prison and torture center dedicated solely to witchcraft trials. He believed he was purifying Bamberg. In truth, he was destroying it. Dark stone tower, with barred windows and snow, shackles on walls, candlelit chamber with torture devices and blood. Torture was not the exception. It was procedure. Suspects were stretched, crushed, burned with hot irons, and if they confessed, under unbearable pain, they were executed. The first accused were often poor or outspoken, healers, widows, or those who challenged authority. But soon, the scope widened. The Prince Bishop's court used the confessions to seize property. The more accused, the richer the regime became. Fear was not just emotional, it was profitable, but all reigns of terror consumed themselves. The Prince Bishop of Bamberg, Johann Georg II, Fuchs von Dornheim, was no exception. Intellectuals and nobles spoke out. International pressure mounted. If they didn't, they were tortured until they did. Despite protests from her husband and appeals to the emperor, she was executed before any intervention could arrive. The Great Witch Hunt of Bamberg was not about magic. It was about power, fear, control, and the terrifying speed at which reason breaks down when truth becomes negotiable. One woman, Dorothea Flock, was arrested while pregnant. Confessions were public. Executions were theatrical. The townspeople watched as neighbors were burned alive, often praying while doing so. Soon, no one was safe. The hunt escalated into a psychological wildfire. Wealthy citizens were accused by rivals. Children were told their parents were witches. Priests accused each other in confession. Entire families were wiped out. Over 600 people were executed in Bamberg alone, in a town of only a few thousand. As executions grew more erratic, the Emperor Ferdinand II intervened. Trials slowed. The witch house was abandoned, and the bishop fled the city in disgrace. Eventually, even the bishop's allies feared being accused. The madness had ended, but not before more than 1,000 people across the region were dead. Children orphaned. Lineages erased. It shows how quickly humans, even good ones, can justify cruelty when they believe it is righteous. And it's a warning that the line between civilization and collapse is thinner than we think. History isn't just facts. It's fear, psychology, and power. Subscribe for more true stories from the darkest corners of the past, because remembering is the only way to prevent repeating. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.